And kind of, oh, I didn't press enter on the last post. And if you give me just one extra moment. Okay, go ahead and get the screen share ready, and we can go ahead and get started. Okay, so we would like to welcome everybody. We're kind of excited to have this session set up. Matt and I have been kind of just putting together some questions after some feedback we got from the steering committee to try to have a bit of a roundup session for today, trying to cover things with the community, a bit about what we've been kind of covering over the life cycle of the system-facing track, to try to capture some input on both on historical topics that maybe need to be looked at again, as well as forward-looking topics. So we have a set of questions that we'd like to do. We'll be using Menti today for this, so we'd love to encourage you to, on a second screen or on a cell phone or kind of whatever works for you, open up the menti.com, and if you use that code that's there shown at the top of the screen, it will get you connected into the session.
The screen share appears to be having some Etherwebs difficulties at the moment.
What is it doing?
We are seeing the started screen sharing Zoom prompt.
Let me go.
Yeah, just a black screen.
We'll go try this again. Okay, now let me step over here. Are you seeing the page?
Yes.
Good to go.
Please keep me honest on that the rest of the day, because this is a new system I'm sitting at, so we'll see how well it behaves for me. Okay, so first of all, we're just going to kind of go through a few slides to kind of recap a little bit of the history. So we'll step into that, and then we'll kind of start stepping the questions. We'd love this to be interactive the whole way through, so feel free to unmute, speak up. Feel free to post comments in the Zoom chat. There should also be actually a mechanism to ask questions on the Menti pages. Either one is just fine. We've got Matt and Jim here, and potentially others who will help us keep track of things that get landing in chat, as I'm not seeing the Zoom chat from here right now. So with that, actually, let me see, Matt, is there anything you want to add in?
No, other than that, well, we're super excited to run through, I guess, a bit of a brief history of the systems facing track and hear where everybody would like us to, pay attention to, pay more attention to, etc. And then we have some kind of compelling news that we'll share at the end, some calls for involvement, etc.
All right, so with that, we'll step forward. So our first thing is just kind of going over our agenda. We'd love to review the topics previously covered by the tracks, and then kind of pose a few questions. We're just throwing at this approximately 5 minutes a question, but we'll simply move at the pace that the group would like us to. First question will be is to revisit these previous topics. Are there any of them that we need to revisit because something's changed or a deeper dive is desired? Trying to solicit for information on if there's gaps in the topics that as a community we haven't really covered. Trying to look for any key critical issues that you're facing that the community could benefit a good discussion on, as well as are there emerging tech or tech on the horizon that really interests you, just kind of helps us kind of gauge things. We'll also pose kind of a nice single question that tries to capture a little bit of a how are we doing kind of perspective. And if there's a point here or a missing point in the questions we're asking, we'd be happy to just take feedback from anybody in whatever fashion they want. And then as Matt just suggested, at the end, we have some announcements and call for interested volunteer kind of opportunities. So let's go ahead and step through a recap. And Matt and I did try to make this not an eye chart. So apologies that we didn't come up with a better, but we'll try to make this as easy on us as we can. So, here is our recap of the years 2019 and 2020. Or visually we can see through, and this won't be the only opportunity to see these, so no worries about memorizing or whatever. But we covered quite a good set of topics across those 2 years. And then stepping forward to 2020, 2021, again, a very good continuation, I think, of great topics. Mixtures of just technologies of somewhat best practices or site surveys or, reference implementations. And then we kind of land here with where we're at in 2023, which again, I've really enjoyed the topics we've seen presented. So this kind of sets us up where we will approach the first interactive question. So our next little slide is just, I can hop out of Google Slides. Just a quick link for anybody who is not yet connected to Menti. There's some quick information there. So, and we'll give that a few seconds just to hang there in case anybody does need it. And then we'll go ahead and slide forward to the first question. So here, if you're connected in, and again, up at the top is the link information. We'd love to know what topics need a revisit or a deeper dive. And while you all are connected in through however you are to Menti, I'm just going to Alt-Tab over, and hopefully this behaves. So you should now be seeing the history again. I don't know, Matt or somebody, if you can confirm that.
Yeah, looks great.
Okay. Let's see if it's actually on rotation. So hopefully this will just rotate around. And hopefully this makes it easier for you to see the topics and enter them in versus having to have memorized them. Alt-Tab back here, and we can kind of see how it's showing up as responses. So this is great feedback so far. I'll jump back over here so we can watch the loop just to make it easy to see. Some of the other questions will be better suited if there's a topic we missed or a side tangent to one of the previous topics. So feel free to put them in wherever you'd like. Jump back over here. Looks like we've got quite a few. This is great so far. So we'll give things a minute more, and then we'll go ahead and close up the answers on this page.
I think I do see a bit of a pattern here with regards to the topics, whereas in the early years of this track, we see things like Globus being introduced, and then later as we go, we see things like Magic Castle, which are, especially Globus, that's a kind of I think we all now work with Globus and are familiar with it. So I'm kind of wondering, as we move into the other survey pieces, like what's the Globus of today? What's new and emerging that folks aren't aware of yet that could become as commonplace as Globus is now?
Okay, we'll go ahead and kind of give the 10-second countdown till we'll close the votes, and then we'll move on to the next page. All right. Let's go ahead and jump forward to the next question. Bear with me. All right, so this one, I don't have another.
Were we supposed to vote on those questions?
Well, those were ones just to throw out ideas of things people thought we should look back at again. I think we left it open so you could upvote others instead of retyping. But the list there is helpful. If you've got additional feedback,
Right, but that does went away from Mentimeter, so we can't vote it anymore.
So let's go back and see if I can reopen it. Okay, I believe the voting is open. So feel free to scroll through that and upvote anything you'd like.
Perhaps it's just me, but I'm not seeing. It looks like it's not offering the ability to vote.
I agree. It's not.
Okay. We may not have set it up properly. Matt and I are somewhat noobs with Mentimeter. We apologize for that.
Yeah, I'm first to admit that as QA, as playing a QA role on this appears to be a gap, but.
Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and close this one up and move forward. Again, we're at the end, we'll share a link that comes back to the systems facing track. So we'd be more than happy to take any kind of feedback on this was your favorite one, or what you think we should focus on, and incorporate that into what you guys have offered us in the survey part. Okay, so this one is going to operate very similar to the last one. This is just a free form, question for you to type in gaps, topics that we have not hit, technologies, perspectives, anything you guys think that we need to add into kind of the focus, just to bring us into a more well-rounded state for the community's needs. It's just fine if topics end up in both pages. It just reinforces people's interest. Some really good ones being thrown out. Ones that have our attention here. So maybe I'll plug everybody as you get done with whatever votes you're going to contribute. Feel free to click like the thumbs up down there at the bottom, right? Just give us an idea that most people have had a chance to put in what they'd like. Looks like there is a question. Oh, there was a question. All right. Scroll this one down. I guess we didn't turn this one on auto scroll. All right, if we give maybe another 30 seconds. And then we'll move on to the next one.
I think this one is similar. The vote, like giving the thumbs up on individual topics.
Yeah. So we'll pause here, right? And if somebody can tell me whether or not you're getting any upvote options, but I'm guessing it's no different than the last one.
No, it's not different. Before it says not open for votes yet, and now it says voting is closed.
Oh, you know what? I can
so-
see something I needed to do as the control. I'm going to press the button here and let's see what happens.
Yeah, looks now
Okay.
like now we can vote.
All right, maybe we'll go back to the last page. We'll chalk this one up for error on my part.
Yep, that seems to be working right now.
Great, we're learning.
Yeah, works well.
I'm going to press enter to show the voting results, and hopefully this does not close the voting.
It looks like it did close the voting.
Okay.
Looks like it closed it. Yeah.
All right. Let's see if we can unclose the voting. Is that back to working?
No,
Hmm.
but it should be. So I think it's just a bug.
Either for me,
Say that last comment again. It is or is not?
it is not.
Okay. Let's go back a page. Oh, there we go. Now, hopefully voting is open. Apparently, I cannot show the voting results
Yes.
It is open, yes.
until everybody's done. So on my phone, it says 23 minutes after will give us maybe till 24 something, about another minute for the votes. Okay, call that good. So there's some of the votes. Go ahead and just scroll through here. Lots of interest in Jupyter on demand, CXL, measuring, monitoring, Kubernetes. There's a couple different identity through LDAP or FedAuth as well. This is some good stuff. Should we go back to the first question and open voting up there now that we know what we're doing? Go ahead and try that real quick.
Yeah, couldn't hurt.
Yes, please.
Okay, so here, and stop scrolling. So it says on this one, if I press C, we can open voting.
Did
Is
not.
voting, okay, let's see what we're doing. All right, let me see if I can get this one from here. Hmm. Not seem to be giving me the option to open voting. No. All I have is this option to close voting and open voting, but there's still a chance that we failed at setting up that page. Let's go ahead and move on just so we don't run out of time. We'll try to come back to this one if we can. Okay. So our next question is just focusing around what are key and critical issues you're facing that the community benefit from a discussion on. Again, there can be overlap with the things we've presented in the gaps. This one can be, vague pieces of feedback where we talk about just like identity management, or maybe it's a specific implementation of something that you want to know. We'd love to just have this. This one will come back as a word cloud. And just simply by you reusing the same terms of somebody else or the common terms, we'll end up getting that community upvote in the word cloud fashion. Kind of as Matt was commenting earlier, I find kind of as we're seeing this filled out here, the things that show up that are expected and the things that show up that, at least in my mind, weren't initially expected. But as soon as you look at it, you're like, yes, those are very relevant and pressing kind of topics. Security there front and center is, I think, clearly a very common driver for a lot of us. So it's set up where you guys should be able to vote as many different suggestions in here as you're comfortable with. Maybe as you individually wrap up, do the thumbs up at the bottom right, just so we can kind of see that everybody's had a chance to enter in everything they'd like. Yeah, some really great suggestions in here.
Mm-hmm. Having security big and bold right in the middle
Yeah,
reflects my life.
okay. Looks like we're winding down. Why don't we give this one the we'll give this one maybe a 10-second countdown here, because I think we've here to have kind of reached everybody's cap on what they have to offer. And again, we can jump back to these later if necessary and if we have time. So we're happy to take an email. So this one now is focused around tech. Whether it be hardware, like I saw earlier, the CXL, which is one Matt and I both have been talking about together. And here we're just trying to capture this a bit, maybe more, might be a little bit more hardware focused, or maybe specific middleware. Is there something that stands out here that you guys would really like to see covered?
And I'm yet to see it.
And an emerging tech might even be something that's not quite even released yet, that maybe we're hoping to see more information out about at SC, or something in the next 4 to 6 months that we can still keep on our horizon for once it is out and able to be discussed. I really like the emerging tech to avoid one.
They might grow like the finance do, every other year. If there wasn't
Yeah, some really good ones again.
Yeah, decent focus on the alternative AI, machine learning.
Or platforms.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've got ARM, you've got RISC called out, we've got various other accelerators. Again, I encourage you to use the thumbs up at the bottom right to kind of indicate that you're content with what you've added in, and we'll use that as a hint to move on to the next. Okay, we'll give us our little 10-second countdown. Right. So that takes us forward to us wanting to ask a little bit of a, how are we doing? And this is kind of as a track, are we meeting the needs of the community, relevancy of topics, diversity of content, right? And this is meant, are we covering all the bases? We know a lot of us wear more than one hat, within our roles at the universities. And we're just aspiring for things. And hopefully what you're seeing here is giving you kind of guidance on the scoring of 0 to 10 to kind of help us understand areas where we can, do better in. Collaboration with peer communities. A lot of what we're trying to communicate there is the idea of, are there peer communities? And I'll use HPC Syspros as an example where there's a strong overlap with us. But it could also mean communities that are a less of a direct overlap, but still have a strong relationship to things that our community is interested in. And in areas here where we're doing less than excellent on, then maybe we'll come back later and ask for some clarification on to try to better understand where we're not hitting the marks on. Again, feel free to use the thumbs up to kind of note that you're done. Although I think we're getting pretty close here. And again, at the end, we'll share a link, an email link address that you're free to just email us in any kind of suggestions, comments, additional feedback that maybe our questions didn't allow you to articulate. We'd love to have any kind of input that you guys are willing to offer us. Okay, so let's go ahead and give this one the 10-second countdown. Right. So this takes us kind of to our wrap-up section. And I'm not seeing the participant list right now. So Betsy, are you here for the part you were going to cover?
Yep.
Okay, great. So let's quickly go through this. So we're kind of doing this in kind of reverse order instead of the news announcements up front. We want to kind of cover these now. So first item on the list is our next month's agenda set for October 18th. We've got 2 presenters kind of lined up to do some conversations on containerization of HPC. These were things that we pulled out of PERC. There were some really good topics presented that we wish we had more time to hear a deeper, perspective from each of these presenters. So we've got 2 of those lined up for next month.
So is that something different than on that the Google Doc says October 19th TBD? Or is that a different day?
I'll make sure I didn't fail on the date. Bear with me a moment. This should be the 3rd Thursday. 3rd Thursday, from what I can see, is October 19th. So wherever I've got the, yeah. So,
but is it with the emerging centers?
No, sorry.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
Thank you. Now you're clarifying. So the systems facing will be the 19th. The 18th is also going to have the emerging centers track, which will have some focus on containers. It's not quite the same focus, and it's obviously from the different tracks perspective. They've asked us to kind of share out the information about their talk, as well as they'll share out information about ours. So as the call doc goes out at the end of the month for next month, we'll be able to see a better description of both of these to kind of see the scope. So if you have time to hit both, that's great. If not, they'll both be recorded and put up on YouTube and be able to be grabbed later. The systems facing track, we still have need and want to try to acquire some additional volunteers for our steering committee. So here's the email, the SF coordinators at carc.org. And again, this is the email to use if you've got any additional feedback, suggestions, comments for any of the questions we've asked, or just whatever you've got on your mind. That's a great place to reach us at. And that takes me to the point where we'll turn things over to Betsy to kind of cover the other points on this. You there, Betsy?
Yeah, sorry, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
All right, so thanks everyone. I asked Brian if I could do a plug. So I'm part of the Nexus student and staff interest group that is part of CARC. And one of the big initiatives that we've been working on is an onboarding checklist for full-time practitioners, early career people joining organizations, plus students. And one of the things we're really working on today is an onboarding checklist. And this would think about things you would do for system-facing folks coming into your organization. And we're looking for general people to join the group. Pretty light. You can come and the ideas will come out of there with some checklist items and some artifacts that help you do onboarding for your organization. And we're looking for people that want to participate at the level you're capable of. So even if you just join our meetings and add input, or if you actually help contribute to the artifacts that we want to produce, you can find my name or Anita. We both are working on that as part of the interest group. And then in addition to that, we also have a mentorship opportunity that we're kicking off. And this is really looking at how do we mentor people in organizations. So that's all the way from early career, mid-career to late career. And we're working with different organizations to understand what opportunities are already out there, because there are some like EduCause and other things that have mentorship projects, but we want to enhance that and have, again, this community be able to have that kind of pipeline so we can help each other. And you can reach out to myself or Elper for either of those opportunities. We're just looking for people that have interest and again, not heavy lifting.
Great. Thanks, Betsy. So that brings us kind of to the wrap up, right? We really appreciate everybody's time on this. This is a good point where I'll, in a second, kind of stop the screen share. We're happy to have any kind of open discussion, or if people would like me to, I can go back to one of the previous questions, and we can see if we can turn voting on that first one if people would like to. Or do we have any questions or comments in the chat that we haven't got to?
I think it was so
What?
interactive that people were not able to do anything in the chat.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. I've got something in here that just showed up. So great question. Thanks for asking that. Yes, there is right now effort going on as a collaboration between systems facing, collaborating with the effort that SysPros was already putting together to do another kind of social meetup. This one is looking to be shaping up with a little bit more organization and bonuses to it. I'll kind of leave those till they're ready to be announced, but should be a good opportunity at SC for a meetup. Any other thoughts or questions?
I just had one comment to make. There were a few times Jupyter Hub and other Jupyter issues were coming up. And this might not necessarily a topic for systems facing CARC, but one of the things we're really struggling with as system administrators is how to let the things they want to do related to Jupyter notebooks, Conda environments, Python virtual environments, all of the things, but make sure that they're doing it in the right way. So how do we recommend, this should be, don't even know all of the different things people are trying to do. And so we're really struggling, especially with Jupyter. So we don't currently run Jupyter Hub. We don't have the staffing to maintain that service. So it would be interesting to hear from other centers who have this kind of mastered or at least semi-solved. How are they doing it? What type of mechanisms are the system staff putting in place for the users, and what are they allowing the users to do on their own? That kind of stuff. That might be something, maybe a collaboration with the researcher facing group at CARC. But I know at least for us, like our system administrators are researcher facing. We don't have separate staff for that. So we're just kind of struggling with that and have been for a while.
I think that would be a great idea. Maybe we can put some thoughts together and circle back with you and the others just on the Slack or some other means and just kind of try to pull some ideas together.
Thanks, that would be great.
Brian, is it okay if I do a plug for our next CARC staff and student Nexus
Yep.
group meeting? I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. So for that meeting, we're going to have a panel discussion with students that are either current students that are working in the system facing in other areas or full-time practitioners.
Nope, I think we lost Betsy. Your video's back, Betsy. No audio yet, though.
It's not showing you muted. If you have like a handheld thing on your microphone, that does get hit sometimes.
Nope, still no audio. I hear some typing. I don't know if that's Betsy.
Oh, wait,
Yep.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yep, we're good.
Very quickly before I lose my audio again. So we have a panel of at least 5 students from different universities ranging in size and background. And we're going to be listening and hearing about their career arc. So how they started out as a student in a system facing as an example, and then have gone on to be full-time practitioners. And it's a wide range of students and diversity. And if you're interested, that date is October 10th at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And Brian, I'll also post it in Slack just so if people are interested in attending, because I think it will be a really nice setup for people to hear how you can move your students into full-time practitioners. Thanks.
Feel free to share this kind of announcement around with any of the people who may not be here as well. So.
Yep.
All right. If there are no other questions, we're reaching close to about the targeted endpoint to give us time before the next meeting of the next hour. We really appreciate everybody's time and efforts in contributing to the feedback you guys gave today. And with that, we can call it good. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.